So I'll call the meeting to order of the Westwood Finance and Warrant Commission. 7:01 here. I'll grant permission to the Westwood Media Center to live stream and videotape the meeting. I'll ask, I guess, if anyone else wants to record, which I'm going to guess is no. And then we will jump right into the Pledge of Allegiance. I think I saw Chris with a flag. I have no flag here in this office. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. So it's on to me, and Mike can certainly chime in as well. But I still wanted to have tonight's meeting to just kind of talk through, where we are with things, what's coming up next, especially for the newer members. Because our meetings going forward will have more robust agendas, more people speaking. We have a few more joining. Oh wait, do I have to do roll call, Allison? I think I forgot that. Did I forget?
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. Quick. You can do roll call. I'm sorry.
Okay. Bill Bruce.
Here.
Mike Gay.
Here.
Alex Gay.
Here.
Caitlin Jersak. Christopher Marks.
Here.
Chris Parado.
Chris Parado, you're muted. I'm not. I thought I already said here. I'm here.
Thank you. Christine Cannon. George Lynn.
Present.
George.
Here.
John Kay. Margaret Crystal. Mike Powell.
Here.
Ryan Sturma.
Here.
Seth Fredrickson.
Here.
Susan Flanagan Cahill.
Here.
That everyone?
That's everyone.
Okay. Sorry about that. I forgot. See what happens when we're back to Zoom. So as I was saying, so tonight's agenda, really just want to talk a little bit about next steps, committee meetings, and then when we get to it in a minute or two, Allison will pull up the potential 40 article warrant list we have just to talk through a little bit. We're not going to decide who's doing what articles tonight, but just wanted to have the conversation about the number of articles we have while we had a quiet meeting before we kind of move ahead to the other meetings. So just in terms of what's coming up next in our next few meetings. So our next meeting in 2 weeks is on the 12th. So we're doing it on the 12th, just so everyone knows, not the 11th. It will be virtual again, just like this. We will have Stephanie on, and she will present the final budget. It'll be presented to the select board, I think, the week before. So we'll get a final view of the budget and the budget articles that she'll talk through during that meeting. And then we can also decide through our conversations tonight if we want charter committee to join as well for that meeting at all. Our subsequent meeting 2 weeks later, I think it's 25th of February, if I remember right. That will be Tim will be there to present. So school committee, we'll also probably have planning board again. We'll have final articles at that point, I think. So we'll be able to assign out articles. So going into our discussions at the end of March, we kind of know who's doing what. And then we'll have to see if there's there could be other agenda topics based on, there's obviously a few miscellaneous articles right out there still. So any of those that get filled we'll have to have, whether it's select board or somebody else, depending on who's leading that article, come to that meeting to talk to us about it too. And then our next two meetings in March are in person. So the March 11th is the present out from the groups. So like I said last time, really just more of executive summary format, a couple slides in terms of things you want to highlight to everyone else, questions you had, anything probably pertaining at a high level to warrant articles that might tie back to that committee as well. So that'll be our discussion on the 11th. And then on the 25th of March will be the meeting where we have, we go through everything one last time, any other questions for any groups, and then we go into our deliberations. On the 25th, we will discuss all articles except for FS1. FS1, we will not vote on or speak to that warrant until after we have a price relative to the fire station estimate, which will come towards the end of April. So we have we'll have another meeting at the end of April, a little different than prior years, where we just focus on FS1 once we have a number and a clear warrant article that we can discuss and vote on. So slightly different, but still, that's where we'll go. And then we still have to talk Allison, Molly, Mike, Chris, and I, based on some of the public attendance at the last meeting where the room was really full. We have to look if it makes sense or not for especially the meeting at the end of March, and any others where we have public comment, if that room will be big enough or we have to switch locations. So I think we just have to relook at that as well. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. And if we change a meeting location, we'll let you know well in advance. But I think we have to have that discussion in the next week in terms of what makes sense.
Bill?
Yeah.
If we're not going to be discussing FS1, I don't know if that will be as much of a concern because I think most of the public participation that took place was FS1. So if we're not voting on that, I'm not sure it'll be a concern, but we'll leave it to the committee to decide.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see. I think we'll see how some of these meetings go in February and see if it makes sense. I just want to make sure we have enough space if people want to come attend in person, speak, stuff like that. Because that library room got pretty tight last time around and there were some people in the hallway. So I think we'll just watch where things go and see if we have to adjust. I mean, realistically, the only place probably to move it is to the high school. But we'll just want it on your radar that we might have to adjust location if we feel there'll be a lot of attendees, just so we make sure people can be in the room. So that's kind of the lay of the land moving forward for the next few months for us. So I think probably by the next meeting, we'll be able to share a little more timing about when articles will have to be written by and stuff like that. We obviously have a little more flexibility this year with the FS1 pushing out far. We can't do the book until after that one. So don't want everyone to wait till the end of April to finish them. But I think you'll have, a week or two at least to write the articles up, and we'll have discussion on that. And then the only other thing, and certainly Mike and Allison chime in, because I know, Allison, you talked to Molly, the subcommittee meetings. So I know we all know they're public meetings and we have to post them. I think work through Allison to help try and schedule the meetings. We're trying our best to kind of schedule them back to back to lessen the impact on, like Stephanie has to be in most of them, right? So to try to balance off people's schedules. So Allison will help support that. She'll help post it. She'll help with all of that. So I don't know, Mike, anything else you'd add, or Allison, anything else from your conversation earlier that you wanted to add around that for the group?
Yeah, no, it's really important to make sure everything funnels through Allison, not only for this, reaching out to, Stephanie or anybody else in the town, that should all be done through Allison. Also, I just want to touch on one quick thing. Caitlin Jerzak had a great question about what a subcommittee could do, and then Allison's role in some of the communications. So Caitlin's question to me earlier today was that for the education subcommittee, the plan was to have to break up some of the meetings with Tim and some of the school staff, and then have the individual members who are participating in those meetings write notes and then send it to the other members so that everybody could kind of stay informed. That is an open meeting violation, open meeting law violation. So I want to be really, really clear here. We as FinCom members shouldn't be emailing one another for any FinCom related business. If in that scenario with Caitlin, the guidance that I gave her after talking with Dottie Powers today was to take your notes, send those to Allison, and then Allison can distribute them to the rest of the subcommittee. So correspondence, getting together to talk about FinCom, doing a subcommittee meeting, again, that has to be posted. Sending an email out. So for instance, when Allison sends a note out to everybody, if we were to reply all and put comments or thoughts, that too is an open meeting law violation. We're not supposed to be corresponding with one another. So let's everybody get in the habit of Allison is the funnel. Everything that we're doing that is FinCom related, we go through Allison, and then Allison can distribute. Allison can certainly bounce it off of Bill and myself, but let's stay above board on all of that, which is exactly what Caitlin was asking for guidance on. So that's really important. And then I think
Mike, before you move on, can I
Sure.
just ask a clarifying question about what you just said?
Sure.
So, we get articles, right? And then we read them. And so if one person is talking to another person, whether it's on the phone or in a hallway or before a FinCom meeting, and you sort of elaborate a little bit on thoughts on one of the articles without making any decisions, right? There's no decision making here, because I know decision making is a key aspect to a meeting, what constitutes a meeting. But sometimes you just want to talk things through to understand it better, clarify your understanding, reconcile understandings before any decisions are made. Where does that fall in the context of open meeting laws?
It would be a violation. So
okay,
yeah,
so you can't even discuss.
Yeah, so to stay kind of above board on all of it, we come together during this meeting, and we posted it. We can have open dialogue. Same is true with subcommittee meetings. You can get together as a subcommittee. You can absolutely, talk about the matter that you're talking to the education subcommittee. That could be an example of the schools, or municipal or public safety. And you could talk about other things because again, it's a posted FinCom meeting. It literally, just avoid it. I mean, I don't know, George, if if everything hey, what did Bill say in his opening? I don't know if that constitutes a violation. And Dottie's guidance is just avoid it.
Okay, I appreciate the advice to avoid it, but I guess what stood out to me when I did the training was decision-making proceedings, and so I thought we were kind of in bounds if we're saying, hey, what do you think they meant by this? Or, I thought that would have been fair game, but
yeah, no, that's cool.
your point's well taken.
Back to Dottie. I'll bring it back to Dottie and bounce it off of her. Yeah, so I'll let you know. Bill, if you have any further thoughts on that, I mean, feel free to jump in. But I think what George is asking isn't for our opinion, more for a very firm kind of response of, would this be a violation? And I'll come back to you, George.
Yeah, I think we have to ask Dottie on that, because I mean, I know we've had a lot of changes this year from prior years with different guidance. And I think historically, as long as it's not decision making and it's just general dialogue, to George's example, we were okay, as long as it wasn't like 3 or 4 people, right? But I think let's get clarity from Dottie before we go into all the busyness of the next 2 months, just so we're following what we need to and we're all on the same page with what we can discuss.
Thank you both.
Yeah, no problem.
The only other thing I wanted to cover on my update is that with respect to, writing up the articles and the votes that we take at the end of March, one of the things that Allison put together is exactly what we promised, which is a OneDrive folder of all of the previous warrant article books. So the town meeting books. So we've got 2000, 2021, 22, 23. Those are great resources. So everybody will have access to that. So you can look at the format, the flow. Certainly some of the repetitive, whether it be capital or budget type articles, you could probably use some of the writing in previous years. And so, take a look, get a sense, that with all of the Chat GPT and different AI tools, we're all going to be incredible writers this year. So just and bounce any questions that you have off of previous books and how they apply to this year off of Bill and myself through Allison, of course. Unless we're in a meeting, then you can ask us directly.
Sounds
That's
good.
That's all I got, Bill.
Allison, that's probably a good segue. Do you want to pull up that list of warrant articles and where we are today? Because it's pretty, I think it's most articles I've ever seen in my years of doing it. So it's quite a bit. We'll have to split up amongst us, and I think, as I said at other meetings, for the folks that are newer to all this, obviously we'll pick articles that are typical articles year to year you usually see, so that you have some good examples from prior years to kind of work off of, and it's not a huge lift. So I figured when Allison pulls it up, I'll just talk through kind of where we are with the articles, and then certainly you guys can ask questions as we kind of go through things.
Sorry, that's going to take me an extra minute. I had it pulled
No
up
worries.
on my other laptop and I'm trying to get it up on this one. So,
No worries. I can't access it on this laptop, so I can't help.
okay. I have it in several spots. Just one.
While she's pulling that up too, one other thing that I just thought about on the subcommittee stuff too, and this has helped me in prior years when I was like on education and leading, is to try to compile questions from the group ahead of time that you might have. And that way you can share it, so if it's education, you're sharing it with Tim and his team, so they kind of can prepare the answers ahead of time. And then it's more of a discussion around the answers rather than answering on the spot. And they have some time, because sometimes they might have to go to somebody who's not in that meeting with you to get answers on stuff. So that's always kind of a good best practice too. And I can't up on this laptop. I can't pull it up.
I can pull it up. Allison, is this the one that is the draft article listing 123.25?
Yes.
That's the
Let
latest
me
one.
let me share my screen here. Hang on one sec.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem. Okay, hold on. Just sent your request to share. Go.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, no problem. So,
Yeah,
you want to walk through this?
Yeah, let's just walk through it a bit. If people have questions, just raise your hand or jump in. We had a quiet meeting. It made sense to talk through these a little bit. So the first set of articles, that first 13, are really budget articles. So a good amount of these, if you look at prior books, are in every year. They're typical adjustments. It's the operating budget. There's a few, they haven't been defined yet, but capital improvements, municipal, sewer. So these just say in general what they are. And then when Stephanie comes to us on the 11th, she'll have clarity in terms of what each one of these actually is. That just are general, right? So numbers 5 through 10 are more general right now. Those will be defined out when she comes to us in 2 weeks. And then some of the OPEB stabilization are typically things we do year to year. And then she has the appropriation there as well. So all the budget items are typically first. And that's 13 of the articles we're working with. And then, this doesn't happen every time. So you won't see this in every book you look at. But sometimes there's citizen petition articles as well. So we have 2 of those in place right now, that we'll have to address, discuss. I know the person in the one didn't attend last time, and there's some questions around that one. So we'll probably get some more clarity as we come in the meetings ahead around some of those. And then the next section, so the next, call it 9+, because there might be another 1 or 2 here because of the miscellaneous articles, are the select board articles. So these are the ones that the select board will speak to. Obviously, that first one, FS1, that one will be the one we separate out and we have that discussion in April. But we have some of the other articles that they spoke through at our last meeting. There are, I think there's one, I thought there's another additional one somewhere, but you'll see Select Board 9 is a new one that they just added that came out of the last Select Board meeting like 4 days ago. And they'll speak to more detail on this in upcoming meetings, obviously, but this is a new, one of the miscellaneous articles they used around a tax incentive for a hotel down at University Ave on the vacant lot that's been vacant for a while next to the Citizens building. So Nora and the select board will speak to this more in some of our upcoming meetings. And then you see right now there's like 9 left miscellaneous articles still. So those are placeholders. So we could have a couple more articles fall into select board or somewhere else that fill up those articles. And again, we'll have clarity on that by the end of February, by that meeting in a month from now, essentially. And then we have the planning board articles. So there's 7 of those that we have out there. So right now with the miscellaneous, it's around 41. We could end up with a few less if some of the miscellaneous drop off and they don't get filled. But, we're looking at, 30 plus articles that we'll have to kind of work through. And so some of those budget ones at the beginning will probably be where we have kind of newer folks work on because they're pretty consistent year to year. And then we'll look some of the folks who've been on a little while to help with some of these planning board articles and select board articles. And so once we have things finalized at that February 25th meeting, then we can kind of sit down and go through this and assign the articles so that everyone knows going into that meeting at the end of the March, which article I'm writing up. So I pay attention, to the vote, to the dialogue and capture things. Any questions from people on anything? I see a hand. Oh,
Yeah, fire away, Chris.
Chris, and then I think Molly.
So they typically use the miscellaneous just as a placeholder for stuff that might come up that the select board hasn't approved. I've never seen 12 start with. It's always been 2 or 3 or something like that. So the number of miscellaneous just blew me away. And the fact that the town isn't giving us any clue as to what they might be is concerning to me. I know two got filled, and the select board chair at the last meeting alluded to a dog issue, a dog leash issue might be another one, but they haven't finalized that. So I'm just really concerned about, the town laying 6 or 7 of us on at the last second.
I agree with you. It's definitely more than I've ever seen. So we're kind of keeping close to it, and we're asking anytime there's an update, like there was this past week after the meeting, get it on that list and get it over to all of you. So we're kind of aware as to where we are. Hopefully some of these get finalized in the next few weeks and then it dwindles down before we get to the 25th. But there is quite a bit out there. We don't know yet. And Molly, did you have your hand up too? Did I see it? Maybe not. One question I did have on the articles is around the charter article where it has all those changes, because there's been a lot of discussion at some of the meetings around that. And feedback about that, because it's very different than the prior years where they separated them all out and they bunched it all together into one article this year. So I wanted to ask if the group felt we need charter to come back at all. Next meeting will probably be better than the 25th, because I think we have a lot on the agenda for the 25th. But if
Bill, this is Chris. I definitely think they should come back and clarify which document they want us to look at.
okay,
I mean, they play fast and loose with the dates on the documents. I just wanted them to state publicly, this is the one you should look at.
okay. We will make sure they're at the next meeting on the 12th to talk through that and answer any questions you guys have as well, on any of those changes. I know there's been some discussion on some of them. And Chris, I'll ask them to make sure we have all the correct documents with the correct dates, and then they address it in the meeting.
One thing I'll say, if there are any questions for the charter review, feel free to get those over to Allison, and we can preemptively, put questions in their hands. That's always helpful. I feel that coming in when they have 4 or 5 questions and they dive right into them.
So that's all I have, I think, for updates and comments. Any other new business or other items that anyone in the group wants to bring up? See nods of no.
Nothing for me.
We just have to ask if there's any public
Yep.
questions.
Which I haven't seen any yet. But we could do old business and the minutes,
Let's do it.
and we'll have to do a roll call vote since we're virtual. So I'll entertain a motion.
Was there any questions or comments about the minutes?
No questions here.
So who's the lucky one to make the motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second,
All right. So roll call, Allison will run through.
Bill Bruce,
Yes.
Mike Gay,
Yes.
Alex,
Abstain.
Mike Powers, I hate to do this, but can you mute until you speak?
Caitlin Jerzak, Christopher Marks,
Abstain.
Chris Pareda,
Yes.
Christine Cannon, George Laham,
Yes.
George Maroon,
Yes.
John Kerry, Margaret Driscoll,
Yes.
Mike Powers,
Yes.
Ryan Sturma,
Yes.
Seth Frederickson,
Yes.
and Susan Flanagan Cahill.
Yes.
All said. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I don't see, I'll just double check the Q&A. I don't see any questions from the public. So if nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion. I'm probably one of our shortest meetings of the year.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And then Allison's got to do the roll again.
Bill Bruce,
Yes.
Mike Gay,
Yes.
Alex Yale,
Yes.
Caitlin Jerzak, Christopher Marks,
Yes.
Chris Pareda,
Yes.
Christine Cannon, George Laham,
Yes.
George Maroon,
Yes.
John Kerry, Margaret Driscoll,
Yes.
Mike Powers,
Yes.
Ryan Sturma,
Yes.
Seth Frederickson,
Yes.
Susan Flanagan Cahill.
Yes.
All set.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.